I'm Mary, his mother, Jesus' mother. Should I be proud of him? Well, I am. I was yesterday at that wedding supper with my oldest sitting by me yesterday. I felt so proud of him. But I tell you, I'm very disturbed by what he did. I've always liked weddings. There's the procession and the singing and dancing. Then there's the supper with the groom and bride sitting under that canopy. You should have seen the bride yesterday. She looked gorgeous, all dressed up with all that glittering gold jewellery. There's some money in that family. But it's not just weddings themselves. It's what they stand for, isn't it? There's so many things going on these days which seem to be undermining family life, undermining the life of God's people. Roman soldiers, foreign ways. I sometimes feel we don't belong in our own land. I feel it's being taken away from us, bit by bit. A wedding's more than a wedding. It's something for us all to hang on to. Weddings bind us together, families together, God's people together. Weddings make us feel one. As long as we go on arranging for good Jewish boys like my son to marry good Jewish girls, we'll keep God's people going. That's the way God protects and preserves his people, isn't it? Well, that's what I'd have said if you'd asked me yesterday. And what happened yesterday at the supper? There they were, that young couple under the canopy, sitting in all their finery, waiting for the moment when they drink from the cup together. That's the high point, isn't it? They take the cup and they drink God's wine together. And what happened? The wine ran out. God's wine ran out. There's the bride and groom getting ready to share the covenant cup, and the wine runs out. Can you think of anything worse? Everyone went silent. I looked at Jesus. The wine's run out, I said. He didn't answer. He seemed to be the only one in the place who hadn't noticed. He had one of his faraway looks in his face. I nudged him. The wine's run out, I said. Then he turned to me. He looked at me very hard, and he said something. I'm not going to tell you what he said, because it sounded odd. It sounded rude. And if I tell you, you'll misunderstand. It was as though he were talking from another time and place. All right, I'll tell you. I said, the wine's run out. He said, what concern is that to you and me? My hour has not yet come. Well, I should have thought it was everybody's concern. The whole wedding supper was about to dry up. And there was the bridegroom under the canopy, the smile wiped off his face, glued to his seat with embarrassment because he'd let his guests down. Then Jesus seemed to change his mind. Suddenly, he seemed to wake up to the seriousness of the situation. I sensed that he was going to do something, so I called one of the servants. I said, do as he tells you. I don't know exactly what he said to the servant. He turned his face away from me. But within 5 minutes, it had happened. The water in those great jars, all that water we use to wash ourselves before we eat, it had all turned into wine. And the best wine, too. The wedding supper, back to normal. Well, everyone started talking, eating, drinking, laughing again. The bride and groom shared their cup. But back to normal? I don't think so. You see, I think it was a sign. Peter and the others are wondering the same. I know because Peter said so afterwards. I don't think the wine running out was just an accident. It's a sign. And that's what's disturbing me. I lay awake for hours last night thinking about it. I said to myself, that wedding nearly dried up because the wine ran out. And if Jesus hadn't happened to be there, and I didn't know he was coming, it would have dried up. And what would that have told us about the wedding, about all our weddings, about God's way of preserving his people? I imagined weddings all round Galilee, all over the country, drying up for lack of wine. And what would that mean? That God no longer wants to preserve his people? God's closing down his vineyard? God's given up on us? Oh, my God. That's disturbing enough, but who saved the wedding? Who produced the new wine? My son. And what does that mean? What do you make of that? He never said a lot at the supper. He was in one of his faraway moods, as I said. He never said a lot. But it's what he did that's troubling me. His wine took over that wedding. Is he going to go around Galilee, turning up unexpectedly at weddings, turning water into wine, new wine, the best wine? Is he going to keep God's vineyard open and save God's people all by himself? I don't mind telling you, what he did at that wedding has shaken me. From what I hear, it's shaken a lot of people. The bride's mother, my friend Sarah, she invited me to the wedding, said to me afterwards, "He's a deep one, your Jesus." Then she added, "Mary, do you really understand him?" "Does any mother ever?" I asked. "No, I don't understand him. But he's the son God gave me. I'm proud of him and afraid for him."